There we go. There we go. Got it. All right. Welcome, everybody. There's some new faces. This is so exciting. Welcome to the September edition of the Forest Park Southeast Neighborhood Association meeting. Going to go through some ground rules really quickly. This is a hybrid meeting. And hybrid meetings are quite difficult to coordinate. If you want to speak, it's best you grab the speaker for the mic from me, so people on the Zoom can hear you. If you are on the Zoom, please raise your hand to speak, or drop your questions, comments in the chat, and we'll get to those as they come in. Please, no interruptions. We have some guest speakers tonight, and behave with your common courtesy. That'd be awesome. All right, agenda. We're going to start out with the treasurer's report, go into some more updates with Alderwoman Peel, crime and safety report with Officer Walker. She should be joining us in about 10 minutes or so. We'll have some infrastructure committee updates, maybe some development review committee updates. And then we will kind of end it on a South Kingshighway exercise, and we can get into that in a bit. All right, without further ado, treasurer's report. Kimmy.
All right. We had $155 in revenue from dues and donations. Thank you for the people who joined, myself included. And expenses were just the usual $14.99 for Zoom. And if you want to join, it's pay what you can. You get voting privileges and you can pay via Cash App, and it's just FPSENA, or you can pay via cash or check to me after the meeting, or drop it by my house. And if you need that information, you can email forestparksoutheast@gmail.com.
Amazing. Any questions, comments, feedback? Cool. We will go into board updates. I'll hand over the mic to Alderwoman Tina Sweet Peel.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. For this month, the updates are regarding trash. Always trash at this point in time. Their trash is being picked up once a week. There's some areas where it is being picked up twice a week, where it is more prevalent. If you are having issues regarding trash, email me directly. Also contact the Citizen Service Bureau. But if you email me directly, I will get that into the streets department right away, and it has expedited some of the pickup of trash. So if you have trash that has been laying around for extra week, then please email me. But first, go through the Citizen Service Bureau. In August, we had 36 trucks and 35 drivers, and we have a problem with a lot of our mechanical equipment, and that is one of the reasons why trash and recycling has not been picked up. There are a lot of parts that are on order right now, and so that is a big issue. The other thing is I'm going to talk about public safety, and Dr. Isom has been speaking with the captains of the districts, and he is trying to make sure that the traffic enforcement is enforced and tickets are given out. So he has been talking to the specific captains to get it down to the neighborhood officers, et cetera, so that their tickets are going to be written. Grass, we have expanded our grass cutting by hiring some contractors. And so that should help with the cutting of the common grass that we have in the city. Next is about infrastructure. I'm looking for 2 people from the 17th Ward who would like to sit on the Citizen Advisory Committee for Capital Expenditures. We had this committee last year too. Last year, Kaylina Menke here in Forest Park Southeast sat on the committee, and somebody from Central West end. And what the committee does is it's looking at the ARPA funding. And so we have a second round of ARPA funding that's going to be allocated for citywide infrastructure needs. And again, I'd like to have two people who would be interested in sitting on that committee to participate. The meetings will start in several weeks. There will be a couple meetings. It won't be as many as last year because one of the things they're going to do is they're going to go and they're going to review last year's strategy for this year. Do you have a question? Okay. And then second thing, which you're going to be talking about later is I've been doing, we're going to be doing a study of the 17th Ward Kingshighway from Lindell to 44. And we had a scoping meeting on August 30th, and I invited about 5-6 individuals from different neighborhoods, Central West End, Forest Park Southeast, Kings Oak. And also I invited TrailNet to come to the scoping meeting. The scoping meeting is the meeting that we work on to create what qualifications we want for the consultant to have, and also what do we want the consultants to look at. This actually was a first for streets and BPS to have actually citizens speak to them at a scoping meeting. And Cindy from the TrailNet was really grateful that she was able to sit with the city staff from the beginning and not at a later date in terms of meetings. So that was a first. Is, you know, I'm really, one of my biggest things is bringing the community in and having community voice as soon as possible. And so this is another way in which I am doing that. We are having a problem with copper theft. And the copper wire from AT&T in the Central West End is being stolen, specifically on Laclede and also in the Ville. Today I had a meeting with AT&T employees regarding copper theft. It's costing them a lot of money. And we're going to be rolling out a community engagement campaign talking about this copper theft because it's not an isolated incident. And for instance, Laclede, they're coming back to these couple blocks on Laclede all the time. And one of the things is some people have landlines and then they're totally out of having a telephone. So that's something we're dealing with. AT&T actually dealt with this in East St. Louis about 10 years ago. And they were able to actually, I don't know where the thieves went, but they were able to mitigate the situation. So we're starting that here in the 17th Ward and the Ville. Now I'm going to go to development. In terms of development, I and a couple people from the Development Review Committee went to the BJC campus and looked at the new bridge that they're going to be building, the pedestrian bridge on the south side of the campus. That's the parking lot where the Hoodland Park is and the tennis courts. There's a pedestrian bridge. And BJC is looking to create a new bridge a little bit west of the old bridge. And it's going to be bigger than the old bridge. And it's going to have better wayfinding to get into the hospital for patients and visitors. They're going to have both of the bridges up at the same time until the new bridge is functioning and they'll take it down. And so that'll be a couple year, it'll take about 2 years to get that completed. But it was really nice to see what they were doing in terms of, they are now requesting a streetification or air rights in order to build the new bridge. We also met with them because they wanted air rights on Kingshighway. And the air rights they want on Kingshighway are that there are going to be some diesel generators. Yeah, that's a great slide, right? Yeah, right there. There are going to be some, that's the new building. That's going to be the new building that's going to be built. And underneath the sidewalk, there are going to be diesel generators. And I know this is kind of wonky, but they should be lasting for about 25 years. And we're going to have to put some steel plates underneath the sidewalk. And so they need to get a streetification for that. And what the steel plates will do, it will assist in when these generators, diesel generators run out of their fuel, et cetera, their lifespan, it will be easier to take them up from the ground, and they will not have to actually cut them apart, which is very environmentally not safe. It will be much more environmentally effective having these plates put underneath the sidewalk. And then lastly, in terms of going back to the pedestrian bridge, you know that there's a walkway right now, right there to the north of the bridge, and that walkway is going to be closed in. It's going to be a lobby area, so people could just meet and sit there. So that's the update regarding that development. And then I wanted to talk to you about Cortex. Some of you may know, have been reading in the paper regarding Cortex. They're seeking 3 TIFs. And there was a TIF hearing last Wednesday. The TIF commissioners voted 4, 2, and 1. So 4 yes, 1 no, and 2 abstained in the vote for recommending that Cortex receive these TIFs. One of the TIFs they want is RPA 6, which is a $4.6 million TIF to build about 168 units of housing right there on Clayton and Sarpy. And they want that TIF. And right now we're looking at putting some inclusionary housing into that project. And also I'm looking at trying to do a nexus study. A nexus study is to try to standardize how these incentives will work. They also want 2 TIFs for 2 projects. They want 2 TIFs. They're expiring in February, and they want the TIFs to be extended for another 10 years, but they don't have any projects. And so that is something that we're looking at right now. I say that they should go back to the drawing board for those 2 projects, and like anybody else who would want to get a TIF. Right now, we are actually looking at using an old model, an old calculation to do the but-for test, and we're making decisions with an older model. And I think it should be with the newer model and be brought back to the table. The last thing is my next ward meeting. The ward meetings are the second Wednesday of the month from 6:30 to 7:30, and the next one will be on October 12th. Anybody have any questions? Oh, there was, okay. Mhm.
The bulk pickups that used to be once a month, where do they stand with regard to?
They should still be once a month. The question was the bulk pickups, and they should be once a month. And if you're having troubles, then email me so that I could get streets out. Oh, yeah. Yep, you're welcome. Okay. Time done.
Awesome. Thank you, Alderwoman Peel. Next, we're going to go through a crime and safety report. I believe Officer Walker is attending via Zoom. So what I will do is mute. Oh, one moment. Well,
The ward meeting is Claim Academy at 4356 Lindell.
all right. I'm going to put this mic on mute. Then unmic my computer. Let's see how this works.
Okay, can everyone hear me? Yay, nay.
Yes.
Okay. So a quick update. It's not a whole lot to share, but you guys are aware that we do have a new captain in the 2nd district. Hopefully soon he'll be able to come out and introduce himself with the schedule. I can't say when that would be. Also, with Forest Park Southeast, you guys' neighborhood continues to be one of our neighborhoods that we're focusing on. If we call it our mission areas, we keep extra patrols and overtime cars out in the district to help patrol, trying to combat some of these crimes, especially with the Kia thefts and Hyundai thefts. So you may see a lot of officers out doing self-initiated things within the neighborhood, and that's pretty much, you know, us trying to cut down on some of the crime in the neighborhood. With that being said, with those, you guys had like 425 calls for service this month, just from September the 1st up until like yesterday. And that's just from people calling 911, people calling non-emergency, and with the officers calling out. And just to show how much out of those 425 calls, 135 of those have been directed patrols or straight call outs from the officers, either conducting vehicle stops, stopping people, suspicious people, or just calling out on building checks and, you know, neighborhood block checks, trying to deter this crime. So that was a lot of you guys' numbers. Again, you have 425 calls, and 135 of those came from the officers. Compare that to last month, you guys had 971 calls for service. And out of those 971 calls, 522 of those came from the officers doing directed patrols in their car stops again, building checks again, directed patrols, building checks. So you guys are getting a lot of attention that way. We're not really receiving a whole lot of concerns or emails regarding crime that's going on in the district. So my thing is, if you guys have something going on in the neighborhood, it's something that we need to be checking out, please feel free to email me or call me. Email right now is the best way to probably reach anyone inside of South Patrol, due to the building being on construction. A lot of the phone lines are kind of like down and not working. So emails would be the best way to really contact any of those officers. But you can call the desk and leave a message, and they will forward you to our emails. I'm sorry, our voicemails, where we can check them, or they can send us an email. So if there's anything out there you guys feel that we need to check out, if you have some concerns that I need to look into, please send me an email, please give me a call. It's just not a whole lot going on. A lot of you guys' crime, again, is around the Grove area. A lot happens on the weekends with the car break-ins and the car thefts, gun thefts. I've been telling a lot of the other neighborhoods, and I'll say it again to you guys, if you're gonna go somewhere and you're gonna take a gun with you, buy yourself a gun lock for your car. Sticking your gun under your chair, in your center console, in your glove compartment box is not how you properly store your gun inside your vehicle. You can be summoned if someone steals your gun out of your vehicle because you did not have it secured. We've had quite a few people have gotten summonses. I don't think they were happy about it because they didn't know, like, hey, I had to put my gun in my car because I couldn't take it in. It's not an excuse. Get you a gun locker for your vehicle, get it mounted in, and store those guns in there. Like I said, you call us, 9 out of 10, you will be getting a summons from the city of St. Louis about leaving your gun inside your vehicle insecure. And that's, like I said, that's just due to the fact that from a Thursday night to Sunday, we are experiencing at least 2 to 3 guns getting stolen out of people's cars, and that's just in the Grove area. And then we still have some with just residents that, you know, forget to take their guns out of their cars when they're going in the house, and their gun is out there, then their car gets broken into, and now these criminals have your weapon. So best thing to do, again, Google them, get you a gun lock, have it installed, mounted in your car. That way it cannot be taken out. Some people have them and they just stick them in their car and they don't mount them down, but you want to get that thing mounted down and, you know, make sure it's in there so no one can just steal your car, come and pop in your car and take this safe out with your gun in it. It's not doing us any good either. If they're still in your case and your gun is in there, they still have your case and your gun now. So please be mindful of that. I have some packages that I left inside that they have. It just pre-goes over some of the stuff that we send out on a weekly basis, for it's burglary thefts, car clubs, how to call 911. We have an unsolved crime flyer in there. This is some of the stuff that I also send to the neighborhoods on a weekly basis. So hopefully you guys are getting those. If you're not, feel free to email me if you haven't. If you're not able to attend the meeting tonight, you're not in the building, and you would like a copy of them, send me an email. I will put my email in the chat box for you, and I can get those to you so you can at least have a copy of what's going out. Again, I'm not going to be that long, so I know you guys got a pretty good busy schedule, and then I have a second meeting to go to. But if there's anything that you need us to know, anything you need us to look into, please reach out to us.
Any questions? Any questions for Officer Walker? Oh, we have something in the chat. Nope. Number, drop that right here. Oh, all right. Thank you, Officer Walker. If there aren't any questions, we will move on to Infrastructure Committee updates.
All right, for the Infrastructure Committee, we have finally established a regular meeting time, which will be the fourth Tuesday of each month at 5:30 p.m. at the Remedy Church at the corner of Vista and Newstead. And so the next meeting will be next Tuesday on September 27th. And the Development Review Committee will also be on that same night at 7 p.m. We are still looking for more people to join, so please feel free to apply. We have about 9 members now and one up to 13 members. We're looking for people from all over the neighborhood, both north and south of Manchester, east and west, and want a variety of age, race, ethnicity, gender, and years having lived in the neighborhood. And meetings are open to the public, so if you're not sure if you want to join, come to a meeting, check it out, and hopefully you'll like it and join. Things that we discussed at last month's meeting was the alley behind the 4400 blocks of Norfolk and Vista. There have been some issues with the development with Green Street and some damaged lateral sewer and construction dumping and ongoing issues with trash and recycling and paving that has been neglected. And the committee will be writing a letter. So if you have any information related to that, either send an email to fpseinfrastructure@gmail.com or talk to me after the meeting if you're in person, or post in the chat. And we also discussed Shodo Park with the pavilion. We're still working on figuring that out, but hopefully the alderman wants to prioritize that and have that figured out this fall. And Aaron Bish and Alan Levine and I are working on figuring out a master plan for long-term planting with trees and perennials and any other programming in the area. And the dedication ceremony that we had been talking about has been postponed to spring 2023. And again, we have a new email, fpseinfrastructure@gmail.com. So if you have any infrastructure related questions, comments, concerns, shoot an email there and we can hopefully help you out with it.
Okay, yeah, tag, more of the same. So again, under the Alderwoman's leadership, we've also sort of rebooted the development committee along a lot of the same lines of intent, really trying to collate and collect neighborhood feedback, more specifically related to developments in the neighborhood. As we've been sort of rebooting, you'll recall last meeting, we presented a couple of developments actually at this meeting and collected a little bit of feedback. And then the committee met sort of ad hoc last month to discuss those and actually recommended support of both of those developments. That was the McCormick House interior improvements, as well as the small mixed use development on the 4200 block of Manchester. Moving forward, we're going to have more regular meetings and just like the infrastructure committee, open those up to the public. So that would be the location to hear about developments that are going on in the neighborhood, specifically from developers and their design teams. We do not have any developments on the agenda for this month. We will still meet next week. We're going to meet directly following the infrastructure committee, and it'll be at 7 o'clock, same location. So y'all are more than welcome to join and discuss any thoughts specifically about the development review process. But otherwise, the committee still intends to meet and continue to sort of discuss some of our internal workings and set up. Just like infrastructure, we're also still seeking members specifically from more diverse racial backgrounds. So if you guys have neighbors or see anybody in the community that might be interested in this committee and maybe has an underrepresented background, we'd love for you to recommend that they sort of voice some interest or point them our way. Any questions about the development committee? Thanks, Dan.
That was Cami Lewis with the Infrastructure Committee and Aaron Bish with the Development Committee. Sorry for not introducing one another. All right. Are there any questions for Aaron or for Cami before we move on? The Shoto Park projects sound really exciting, by the way. They do. All right. Tonight, I thought we would talk. We thought we would talk about South Kingshighway. As actually, did you want to make another? Yeah. Sorry. One sec.
This is Tina Peel talking for those people online. I just wanted to make another announcement, and that is I am looking to possibly do a parking district in the northwest corner of Forest Park Southeast. People are asking me to do parking districts on Arco and others, and I already have, and all these parking districts have board bills, and it takes a lot of time. And I'm looking to see possibly if you as citizens would like to have one parking district and figure out on each block what those hours would be. And then we'd put one board bill in for that area of Forest Park Southeast because of the hospital and Wash U. And all we're doing is moving the parking problem down to the next block. And so I think it would be more efficient to do it as one parking district, and would like to bring that to the citizens next month or so. And contact me at PLT at stlouis-mo.gov or phone me at 314-301-9868 regarding whether you want a parking district in that, especially in that area, so I can know how we can organize for that, because we are going to have a citizen petition for it. Thank you.
Have we had any sorry, just a question about the parking. Has there been any conversation with the medical school at all about them sending a campus-wide email to notify employees that they shouldn't be parking in our neighborhood? Have we been able to at least alert them? Because the parking districts aren't enforced, so a lot of times they just don't really make a difference.
Okay. Sarah, thank you for that idea, and I'll talk to them about sending a letter to their employees. And the second thing is, as more parking districts are created here, I'm going to start talking with because the parking is through the treasurer's office, who has to give the tickets, and I'm starting to talk with Treasurer Lane regarding that and how we can get them enforced. So.
Awesome. Thank you. Any questions about the parking district? Chris on the chat says, yes, please. 4,500 block of Arco could use this.
Sure. This is Sarah Mingapora. I know that this has been a hot topic over the previous years, and every time it gets brought up, I just want to mention, please speak to people that have a parking district and have been using it, because there have been some misconceptions about what it actually brings to the community, and it can be very problematic for residents who have it on their block. So I know that right now, there's a lot of emphasis on putting them in place, but please consider the alternative, because there are people that maybe can't get to the offices in time, or you're having to pay for a parking pass, which is $10. May not seem like a lot, but it might mean a lot to somebody else. So just keep that in mind with future requests for parking. Thanks.
How do we access people who we're new to the area? And I would love to know what the cons are for having parking passes. And I do understand that with Barnes Jewish employees and the medic and all the WashU that they don't have probably the budgets to be able to pay for parking. And so free parking is of benefit. So I'd love to know.
I'm Zen Harbison. I'm on the 4300 block of Shoto and Shoto Park. I've spoken about parking many times. 3 meetings ago, there's a very long dissertation on parking. I've contacted everybody involved, all 4 departments, horrible bureaucracy, no enforcement, et cetera, et cetera. We can go on and on. The guy named Lenny is going to disseminate some sort of project with actual ticketing. That has been said, what, 6 months ago? Still nothing. Good luck. The Shoto district, Shoto Newstead district does not pay for their tags, and it was written into ordinance again. So if we're going to make new ordinances, you can put some consideration into that. It doesn't have to cost money. But again, ever since the first one has been done, there's been no enforcement ever. Not once has there been a meter made on Shoto. So, you know, unless you want to contact the university and get them to actually do something to their employees, then to all of their students and everybody involved, that's really the only offenders.
Any other
I just got like hot takes coming in and I just wanted to voice an opinion. But I wonder another angle, like reaching out to the university or the hospital itself, you know, the issue is parking is expensive and employees would rather park for free in a place that's convenient to walk. So I think that clearly makes sense. But I wonder if there's a way for the neighborhood to approach those huge organizations and somehow gain some of that parking benefit money. And I don't know what that would go toward or what sort of public benefit we could have, but there's maybe something there and some sort of partnership that's a different angle, perhaps. Could be something there, but they're building more garages. So I don't know what the right answer is. But yeah, we live right there on Shoto and Taylor. So I totally feel, yeah.
parking, always a hot topic. Any other comments to be aired right now in this room or in the chat? Okay. And you'll have meetings for this later on. And okay, cool. We'll look forward for that information. We can help disseminate it if you need the help. All right, South Kingshighway. As Alderwoman Peel had mentioned, she held a scoping meeting for South Kingshighway from Lindell, possibly all the way down to 44. About a month and a half ago, there was a meeting for North Kingshighway between MLK and Delmar, in which Lockmeyer Group, I believe, in the city of St. Louis, Lindell, that's what it was, came and presented plans, their idea for how to improve safety and reduce vehicular crashes along that stretch of Kingshighway. I won't comment how the meeting went, but I think it would be in our best interest to discuss in this group, at least preliminarily, won't even say the word, just as a way to gather feedback that we can provide to the alderwoman and any consultants who come down and want to study South Kingshighway. If they have feedback in advance, they can hear your thoughts and opinions and take that into consideration before presenting ideas without any of your feedback. So tonight, we will just do a quick exercise here, however long it takes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, to gather some thoughts. So again, the city of St. Louis and consultants are studying Kingshighway to improve safety. So we'd like to provide them with your feedback to consider before they potentially share ideas with our neighborhood. So we're thinking of ways to, I guess, the overall goal would be to improve safety, but tonight it's more of hearing when and where you feel safe or least safe along Kings Highway. It's to hear how you use Kings Highway right now, and to hear examples from you about good streets, whatever that might be to you. So Aaron is I want to make Aaron a co-host. He'll share his screen and throw up a map. He will take notes as we go along. If you have any comments about, again, when and where you feel least safe along Kings Highway, how you use Kings Highway, examples of good streets, Aaron can take those notes. You can drop that in the chat, or I can pass the mic off to you. So without further ado, let me try to make you a co-host.
Yeah, and as Dan's doing that, I think that the most efficient way to do this, especially for the folks online, might be to sort of pass the ball proverbially sort of back and forth from in-person to online. That way y'all online can just unmute yourself and go ahead and speak rather than having to type anything in the chat. So we'll try to facilitate that and kick it off online and then kick it off in the room. I'm going to switch the screen now. Would you mind introing, I guess, what you guys heard at the last meeting and then maybe helping move the mic around?
Sure. So my name is Michael Browning. I'm the vice president of the Neighborhood Association, and I attended the scoping meeting at the Alderwoman's invitation. I think it was a couple weeks ago. And they are looking at, as we've stated, improving the safety along Kings Highway. A lot of that involves reducing the speed of cars, increasing visibility for pedestrians as they cross. A lot of the traffic calming measures that it goes into good urbanism. What they are not looking at is anything outside of the road. So they are not considering, I think the term they used was between the curbs. Is what they want to look at. So they're not looking at maybe doing a separated path next to it or anything else. This is really a study on what to do with that pavement between each side of Kings Highway. As you know, this stretch goes from Wendell. I've heard that they're looking all the way down to 44, possibly even down to Shaw. This stretch is a very important stretch in that it is right next to the hospital. So think about how you interact with that. Think about the 6440 intersection and the relative difficulty with that. Think about Kings Oak, our kind of sister neighborhood across the street. If you've ever traveled over there, how it is to cross the road. And let us know what your experience is, where you feel safest, where you don't feel safe. You know, feel free to suggest ideas, but I also like to leave it up to the traffic engineers to solve the problems. It's up to us to state the problems. So try to think about your experience and what you find frustrating or find unsafe, and share that with us so that we can ask the consultants to look at that specifically.
All right.
Thanks. So we'll start off in the room. Any thoughts? We have sort of focused the map specifically how they edge our neighborhood. But as Michael mentioned, any feedback you have on Kings Highway at all, we'd be welcome and would love to capture that feedback and present it back to the Alderwoman. So Sarah's going to kick us off. Thanks, Sarah.
This is Sarah Kogan. So a few things in terms of someone who walks around Kings Highway as opposed to drives on it most of the time. The crossing at Oakland to get over to Kings Oak can feel incredibly, I want to say not great. It's uncomfortable. It feels aggressive crossing there. I mean, obviously it's a really, really large road and it's coming up to where MoDOT takes over. But crossing there in particular can be pretty hostile. That's the word I was looking for. Additionally, in terms of like our neighborhood in particular and the interaction, and I know this isn't quite like between the curbs, but at the opening from Kings Highway onto Oakland, people will stop at that stoplight and dump their trash, and then the trash just blows down Oakland. So I don't know if there's anything they can do about that, but That is something, that I have spent more than enough time going and picking out trash down there because it's a massive conduit for it.
We have a couple notes from Chris in the chat. He notes that blind turns from McCree onto northbound Kings Highway are still happening and are very dangerous. I'll let you. Oh, you already got that one. Look at you. Then he said, not sure if this counts. Probably does though. Manchester backs up past Taylor on a regular basis. This might be a light timing issue at Kings Highway in Manchester. Ooh, yes. Yep, you get the mic.
Just information, are the cameras at Manchester and Kings Highway, do they work? And if not, why not? You guys probably can't answer that, but that's a great smoothing thing when people are getting hundreds of tickets every couple of days.
Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's a state of Missouri law. They don't use red light cameras. Oh.
I mean, the judge can probably speak to it, but I can't.
You're still very. So much.
My understanding, this is Phil Higney, my understanding is that those cameras were very active for a while, that they produced a lot of controversy. The end result was that court cases were brought, and currently the camera system is no longer in use. Nobody gets tickets based on pictures that the cameras take. So as a means of controlling traffic, they don't do anything for us at this point.
I'll just add a little context to that.
Good.
Because I also found that really interesting when it happened. So in the state of Missouri, the court case that they brought was that they were ticketing cars based on the license plate. And then people needed to prove that they weren't driving the car, which usually in the court system, you're innocent until proven guilty, but it's kind of the opposite with the red light cameras. And so until they can get cameras with high enough resolution to show who's driving, they can't start using them again.
Are there any other locations along Kings Highway in which you feel unsafe, uncomfortable? Any elements along Kings Highway that impede you from feeling safe? Ooh, Cammy, go.
So the intersection at Kings Highway in Manchester, and also where it intersects with 64, on multiple occasions, the lights have been out, which I don't know if they'll be addressing, like not having the traffic lights go out, but that is a constant issue.
Chris notes here, yes, all caps, exclamation point. Kings Highway in Manchester light gets run regularly. In addition, additionally, see some chaos when cars come from the feeder road running alongside Kings Highway, the one that exits right by the Jiffy Lube. Cars will exit there and try to proceed northbound on Kings Highway. And then Kalina mentions that she would love to see pavement striping that's visible throughout. Helpful, yes, totally agree. I think ideas like that are helpful as well. Elements that would help improve, whether it's sight lines. You mentioned McCree at Manchester, visibility of the striping. Are there good examples of streets? You can name streets in St. Louis that you think are good examples, or elements along streets that you think improve your walkability or the environment in which you are driving or walking. Anybody? Oh, yes.
I think this is a pretty widely known fact, but when road diets, decreasing of the quantity of lanes, increasing the spacing happen, it tends to lead to not just traffic flow improvement, but also safer pedestrians, safer conditions for vehicle traffic. I think that has been demonstrated pretty well on Manchester. So when we first moved here, Manchester from Kingshighway to Shoto was a 4-lane road. And it did not feel nearly as safe as it does to this day. It has just been a drastic improvement on walkability, and while I still think there's probably some improvement that we could make on crosswalks and accessibility, et cetera, just using that as a very close, tangible example would help in thinking about what our future for Kingshighway could look like.
Thank you.
I was walking, this is Michael Browning again. I was walking in Forest Park the other day and I was curious. So I walked up next to Kingshighway, which is not, the best area to walk because it's loud and noisy and kind of smells bad. And noticed that I had to, in order to get across to the hospital at the intersection of, I think, is it Clayton that comes across? No, it's not Clayton. It's Barnes Plaza Drive. You have to cross 1, 2, 3 times in order to get over to the hospital. And maybe that'll change when the construction's done, but it was, again, extremely hostile. Some of the good infrastructure that I would like to see is bump outs for pedestrians so that they're highly visible when they're about to start crossing the road. Eliminating parking where that alongside the road where it can be eliminated. Cars that are parked on the side of the road obstruct views of pedestrians that are on the side of the road. And so when you need to cross, it's like you're just popping out into traffic, and that can be very dangerous. And then, as strange as this sounds, try not to make it straight. Straight, wide lanes tend to increase speed when people feel very comfortable speeding in that. So narrower lanes and maybe even adjusting them back and forth a little as you go would help reduce speed. And I know this is a crazy suggestion, but I'm going to say it anyway. A raised crosswalk would be amazing. That forces cars to slow down because it's a speed bump and a crosswalk.
Nope.
This is Sarah again. I do want to touch on the Manchester and Kingshighway intersection. And one thing that I forgot to mention is that a lot of times if the light's taking too long and like someone wants to, go straight on Manchester across Kingshighway, the light's taking too long, they'll drive under the viaduct. And so you'll see people like driving across traffic basically to get to that like underdrive basically. I see it all the time. So I don't know if there's anything they could do about that. But that's been a pain before.
Sorry, one more thing. This is Sarah Mangapora. At the Manchester and Kingshighway intersection, when you are crossing going west, the bus has to park in the right lane, which is supposed to be a right turn only. And then it has to travel into the straight driving traffic to cross over Kingshighway. It's a really dangerous way for the bus to have to route. And but that's the most convenient spot for the bus to stop for people who are going one direction or another and transitioning at that intersection. But I think that's something that should be considered as well. Doesn't quite affect Kingshighway, but it's in the curb.
That right turn is scary too.
I thought your story was kind of interesting from a personal experience perspective. Does anyone else have stories of trying to navigate Kings Highway, whether that's by foot, by bike, by air, by car? Kalina mentioned in the chat, biking on Kings Highway is darn near impossible. I still do it to get from Manchester to Oakland and back, but it would be nice if a typical cyclist could use the road too. And then David says, raised crosswalks would be a major improvement at key intersections. Oh, yes.
This is Zen. I've lived 7 years on Shoto. Thankfully, Shoto dead ends into an pedestrian overpass, so I can completely avoid Kings Highway, which I normally do when I walk and ride my bike. But I definitely can agree with everybody. When you're crossing at Oakland, I do walk across Kings Highway at Oakland sometimes. And it is just a huge expanse to get across and slow time. The number one improvement would be at the crosswalk at Oakland to actually line the street to indicate this is where people walk, because there's none. And that would be like number one improvement that was so easy to do. Aside from all the rays and all the wonderful things that we can just dream of. It'll never happen, unfortunately, right? But yeah, I would go to the pedestrian overpass and pass by. Walking, I do walk across the hospital. I walk through the park. I skate around there and I ride my bike. I would never dream of skating, riding, or walking from Oakland to the hospital on Kings Highway. The expansive, massive pavement between the intersections across the interstate are not imaginable for pedestrians. I'm surprised the homeless don't get run over there. And that would be another factor number 2. There's always homeless there. That's not exactly fun to walk by. The cement there is new, but there are 0 lines. The lines that exist, thankfully that do exist, are for the cars and only for the cars. There's no pedestrian lines. Number 1, people don't exist unless they're lined in for.
Getting my steps in. Kalina in the chat mentioned, what about all the curb cuts at the northwest corner of Manchester and Kings Highway? Can some of those be eliminated? Limit left turns? The gas station to BP? Yeah. Any other experiences, good or bad, along Kings Highway, or examples of other streets in St. Louis that do a good job of reducing speeds or making you feel safe when walking? Grand or Page? Or no, nothing, nobody? Okay.
One of the things that Dan and I heard when we went to the feedback meeting for the north part of Kings Highway between MLK and Wendell is that they really were trying to discourage biking on Kings Highway, that they did not want to put in biking infrastructure because they just simply don't want people on bicycles on Kings Highway. It's too dangerous, speeds are too high, et cetera, et cetera. I personally disagree, but that's a different point. The issue then to me is if you don't want bikes on Kings Highway, you do need to create a north-south corridor for bikes to be able to travel that isn't Kings Highway. And so even though this study is looking between the curbs of Kings Highway, if you wanted to direct people over to the pedestrian bridge, which is a much better way to cross, you need to add connected paths and sidewalks that actually get people there. Right now, it's kind of a patchwork. And if you don't know the pedestrian bridge is there, you might actually not even make it over there. So improving signage, improving connectivity is key if you want people to actually use the infrastructure you've built.
Just adding on to what we heard at that meeting, there are other factors to take in consideration too, or that they took in consideration when coming to the community with their idea. One was budget, of course. It was told to us or explained to us that ideally if Kingshighway were to get a bike infrastructure or more bike facility, if you will, along that stretch, they would want to invest many millions of dollars to do it and not do anything that's low cost. Residents kind of against that idea. They just wanted to, be able to bike down Kingshighway, and some residents share that they do that right now, and it's their way of getting to and from places. Other residents brought up the idea of roundabouts, and the use of those to slow down traffic. What else was there? I don't know. There was a lot to take in that meeting. But we have lots of notes here. Are there any other notes? Oh, we have one here. Chris says, I would be all for protected bike lanes running on parallel streets. Sarah, Tower Grove, Newstead, Taylor, rather than Kingshighway. The street name has highway in it, and I'd feel totally unsafe riding on it. I mean, it does have the word highway in it, but road diets lead to more people wanting to bike it, right? If it's safer, I don't know.
As part of creating those, alternative bike paths as well, I think the hospital needs to be a partner in all of this. I feel like the recent campus improvements that WashU BJC has been doing has been on making it a lot easier for people to drive in and out of the hospital complex, which I understand, like that's the service that they're providing. They're a hospital, like you need to be able to get ambulances and emergency vehicles in and out, as well as patients. But they're also kind of the biggest driver in hostile roads and kind of disconnecting us from other neighborhoods. Walking from here to the Central West End can be difficult unless you're going down Euclid, or what used to be Euclid, walking through the campus. When we were seeing the views from some of the development updates, it showed kind of the Hudland Park walkway being updated, and it looked like they were adding additional roads underneath it. It looks like they were widening that. But, that's probably the only way to get over to Kingshighway, from our neighborhood right now. And so you have to walk down that street in front of the pavilion, and it looks like they just want to widen that some more. So I think making sure that if we're creating road diets, that WashU is not backtracking on some of that.
Any other? Oh, yeah.
Also, if we were prioritizing bike traffic, that would help decrease the amount of people who would be parking in the neighborhood, because they could more easily bike to the hospital, and we would have so many fewer issues with parking. And prioritizing cars is not the future. Prioritizing bikes and public transportation and pedestrian is the future. So I would prefer to prioritize biking.
Any other experiences? We're doing great. I'm so happy right now. This is great. If there aren't any, you're more than free to email us at forestparksoutheast@gmail.com, and we can certainly add them to this map here. We can build a form and share that out and have others who weren't unable to participate tonight add some feedback as well. TBD on when these future engagement meetings to discuss this corridor will happen, but we will be sure to provide this to Alderwoman Peel and the consultants that the city hires to study this section. That being said, we do have a few more things to run through really quickly. Just recapping on some events. Since about April or May or March, we've done monthly neighborhood cleanups on the third Saturday of every month. Have picked up probably 40 or 50 bags of trash. We have at least 5 bags of trash every weekend. It's a good time to meet your neighbors and to get together to clean up your neighborhood. We may have one more if the weather holds up in October. If that happens, be sure to let you all know. And then we hosted our annual neighborhood night out. I don't know if any of you in attendance tonight were there. I was not. I was somewhere else. I missed it, but sounded like it was a great event. Good turnout. Free food courtesy of the sponsorship from the Washington University Redevelopment Corporation, and then the beer from Urban Chestnut, always coming in clutch with the beer. And then we had St. Louis City SC out there with their street team and kids kicking some soccer balls, some music, and happy to do it again next year. If you love event planning or love making things fun for your fellow neighbors, would love your help and support. Would love to make it bigger next year or think of different ways we can activate Shoto Park as we start to beautify it more, right? All right. That being said, yeah, join the event committee if you're interested in helping out with events. Grow Fest is coming up here in a couple weeks, October 1st. And then our next meeting is Tuesday, October 18th. We'll be here in hybrid at 6:45. Who knows what will be on that agenda? It could be something even more exciting than this. All right. All right. All right. Happy to see all these new faces. Definitely tell your friends and your neighbors to attend. And if you know anybody in Kingshighway, invite them over. We like those guys. Kings Oak. We talked a lot about Kingshighway. We don't like Kingshighway. We like Kings Oak. With that being said, thank you all for coming out tonight. Hope to see you around soon. You're welcome.